But the woman had slipped and fallen aside, gibbering, clawing the floor. Fox stood over her with a look of positive disbelief on his face. He looked at his arm and his wrist and his hand and his fingers, each in turn through a great invisible glaring hot wall of crystal that enclosed him. He looked at the cane as if it was an easily seen and incredible exclamation point come out of nowhere to the center of the room. His mouth stayed open, the dust fell in silent embers dead. He felt the blood drop from his face as if a small door had banged wide into his stomach. Aye, she frothed. Scrabbling about, every part of her seemed a separate animal. Her arms and legs, her hands, her head. Each was a lopped-off bit of some creature wild to return to itself. But blind to the proper way of making that return, her mouth still gushed out her sickness with words and sounds that were not even faintly words. It had been in her a long time, a long, long time. Fox looked upon her in a state of shock himself. Before today she had spat her venom out here, there, another place. Now he had loosed the flood of a lifetime. He felt in danger of drowning here. He sensed someone pulling him by his coat. He saw the door sills pass on either side. He heard the cane fall and rattle like a thin bone far away from his hand, which seemed to have been stung by some terrible unseen wasp. And then he was out, walking mechanically down through the burning tenement. Between the scorched walls, her voice crashed like a guillotine on the stair. "Get out! Get out! Get out!" Fading like the wail of a person dropped down an open well into darkness. At the bottom of the last flight, near the street door, Fox turned himself loose from the other man here, and for a long moment leaned against the wall, his eyes wet, able to do nothing but moan. His hands, while he did this, moved in the air to find the lost cane. Moved on his head, touched at his moist eyelids, amazed, and fluttered away. They sat on the bottom hall step for 10 minutes in silence, drawing sanity into their lungs with every shuddering breath. Finally, Mr. Fox looked over at Mr. Shaw, who had been staring at him in wonder and fright for the full 10 minutes. "Did you see what I did? Oh, that was close. Close. He shook his head. "I'm a fool. That poor woman, she was right. There's nothing to be done. I see that now. It had to fall on me. Here, wipe your face. That's better. Do you think she'll tell Mr. Shrike about us?" No. Do you think we could talk to him?" They considered this and shook their heads. They opened the front door to a gush of furnace heat, and were almost knocked down by a huge man who strode between them. "Look where you're going!" he cried. They turned and watched the man move ponderously, in fiery darkness, one step at a time, up into the tenement house. A creature with the ribs of a mastodon and the head of an unshorn lion, with great beefed arms, irritably hairy, painfully sunburnt. The face they had seen briefly as he shouldered past was a sweltering, raw, sun-blistered pork face, salt droplets under the red eyes, dripping from the chin. Giant smears of perspiration stained the man's armpits, coloring his t-shirt to the waist. They shut the tenement door gently. "That's him," said Mr. Fox. "That's the husband." They stood in the little store across from the tenement. It was 5:30. The sun tilting down the sky, and the shadows the color of hot summer grapes under the rare few trees in the valley. What was it hanging out of the husband's back pocket? Longshoreman's hook, steel, sharp, heavy-looking, like those claws one-armed men used to wear at the end of their stumps years ago. Mr. Fox did not speak. "What's the temperature?" asked Mr. Fox a minute later, as if he were too tired to turn his head to look. "Store thermometer still reads 92. 92, right on the nose." Fox sat on a packing crate, making the least motion to hold an orange soda bottle in his fingers. "Cool off," he said. "Yeah, I need an orange pop very much right now." They sat there in the furnace, looking up at one special tenement window for a long time, waiting.